Chapter 22. When all is lost, improvise. Neef's rules for changelings. In the end, it was Changeling who got us back to the Metropolitan Museum. Fleet didn't know where we were going, and I didn't care. When we reached the between-way station, I folded up on the platform and put my head in my arms. I could hear Fleet and Changeling talking, but it was like listening to some made-up language. I wished I could turn into something peaceful, like a rock, or go to sleep for 100 years, like sleeping du- duplicity. Instead, Fleet grabbed my elbow and hauled me onto the between. It was like a mirror image of the first trip, where Changeling was totally freaked out and I was, well, calmer than she was anyway. This struck me as funny, so I laughed and then I cried, around and around like the bull and the bear. When we got off the between way at the Metropolitan Museum, the old market woman and Baston were waiting for us. The head of Apollo propagates that you be arriving, said the old market woman. You look like someone's been trying to sacrifice you, said Baston. I want to hear all about it. Tough, I said. I'm not in the mood for stories. And I ran for the tomb of Pernib, where I could be miserable in peace. I guess the funnery phrases are used to weeping mortals. I must have cried gallons of tears, and they never cracked a smile, like a like some stupid oldest brother. I flunk on my quest. I couldn't go back to the park, since I hadn't been eaten by the dragon. Neither could the puka, and Changeling couldn't go home. Oh, and I might have lost Central Park air rights to the Dragon of Wall Street. My life was ruined and so was everybody else's, and it was all my fault. Eventually I must have gone to sleep because I woke up feeling like I'd been wrestling a wind sprite and my face was stiff with dried tears. An apple and a piece of cheese had appeared beside me, along with a pitcher of water and my favorite pale green Chinese bowl. I was too depressed to be hungry, but I drank half of the water and poured the rest into the bowl so I could wash my face. When I came out of the temple, Bastin was sitting with her back to me, her bronze tail wrapped primly around her paws. Meh, I said pathetically. She sneezed in an amused way. You were to work on your accent. You need to work on your accent, she said sincerely. You have gave a kitten call, which is insulting in more ways that I can tell you. Nonetheless, I'm glad you survived your quest. So it was curator. Thanks, I said. I sat down beside her and hugged my knees to my chest. I wonder how the curator was going to react when he found out that Fleet wanted to become the museum's official changeling. I wondered if he let me live here too. And Changling, of course. I wondered what the puka would do. My eyes went hot again. Baston butted me with her hard bronze head. That's enough of you, she said. They're waiting for you. I scrummed both my hands over my face, hard. And then I got up and followed Baston out of the Egyptian wing into the great hall. I wasn't surprised to see Green Lady hanging out by the museum shop looking at postcards. The curator had probably sent her for as soon as I got back. She turned when she heard Baston's bronze feet clicking on the marble floor and planted her green hands on her hips. Today she was wearing a leafy mini dress and her dreadlocks were stuck with roses. She gave me a disdainful once over. It's not that great hero, home from her big quest. What's the matter, kid? Ain't you glad to see me? I crucified. I'm not always glad to see you, my Lady Green, my Lady Genius of Central Park. Oddly enough, I really meant this. I loved Central Park, after all. Maddening as she was, the Green Lady was Central Park, so I loved her too. Where's my loot? She said. Bastion clicked forward. Neef has been on a quest, she said serially. Not a shopping spree. So present the talisman she's collected in the presence of genius who witnessed the original bargain. The lady's hair gave an irritated twitch. I want it now. Then you better hurry, Bastion said, trotted towards the ancient Greek sculpture. Following Bastion and the lady, I I know for the first time since I started this adventure just what was going to happen next. It was the kind of comforting to know that I'd come to the last chapter, that there were nothing I could do or say to change the way things were. The story would end and somebody would live happily ever after, because that's the way stories in New York between always end. It wouldn't be me. We stepped through the door into the fountain court. The cheerful bronze boys raised their pipes to their lips and blew the shrill fanfare. The curator had dressed up for the occasion with red bow tie and matching handkerchief. He'd pushed his glasses onto his forehead and forgotten them. But with the Assyrian lion and the Minnow princess flanking him, he looked impressive anyway. The other dachshunds and guards were ranged behind them. On one side I saw the unfamiliar Egyptian princess in a pleated white gown and a hollow-cheeked man in black. Then the Egyptian princess waved at me, and I recognized Fleet, the hollow-cheeked man. I realized was the Pooka. Hi, I squeaked. The Pooka stepped forward and opened his mouth. Enjoying your last visit at the museum? The Green Lady's voice was poison sweet. The Pooka shut his mouth, bowed, and stepped back again. The lady turned to the curator and gave him a little nod. Green Lady of the Parks, he said firmly. Are you prepared to keep your bargain? I am if she is. Hero, said the curator. Present the magical talisman. There was an awful moment where everybody was looking at me, and I was wondering where Changling was with the satchel, and whether I was going to have an excuse myself to go for her, and what an anticlimax that would be. Then I heard the leathery slap of sandals, and towards the old market woman herding Changeling into the fountain court. Changeling's hair springing out of her clips. Her shirt was untucked, and the flowers on her jacket were hairy with loosened threads, but her head was up, and her mouth was firm. I was very glad to see her. The lady, however, was not. As soon as Changeling came into the room, the lady's hair came alive in a tangle of hissing snakes. The dachshunds, who were a pretty tough bunch, weren't fazed, but Fleet put her hands over her ears, and the bronze dolphins dove for the bottom of the pool. The Pooka covered his eyes with one long hand and shook his head. Changeling gave a startled yelp, then retreated into her flowery jacket and shut down. The curator beckoned to the Minnow princess, who rustled purposefully towards the lady. Her snakes held high. The roses settled back into the lady's hair. Don't get your ruffles in a twist, Pipsqueak, the lady snapped. I'm not going to turn into anything. I'm not going to turn into anything. I'm just going to take care of the changeling over there. The lady turned to the changeling, forefinger cocked. Without thinking, I jumped between them. Oh, no, you don't, I said. Butt out, kid, the lady snarled. I have to get rid of it. Why? It doesn't belong here, that's why. It's a changeling. I made it for the Bureau of Changelings affair, so they'd have something to leave in your place. If you're here, it has to be there, or nowhere. I'm voting for nowhere. She grinned toothily at me. Unless you rather go outside and let it take your place with the hunt. Now it was my turn to get mad. What's your problem with Changeling anyway? She's a lot more fairy than I am. She can do all kinds of magic and stuff. She can see things I can't. She can remember anything. She can fix stuff even a computer wizard can't fix. See now? That's just what I'm talking about, the Green Lady said. Who ever heard of the park fairy who can fix computers? She's different. She might change things. Change is dangerous. She's got to go. Fine, I said. Send her back outside then. Once she's safely home, I'll give you your loot, and everybody will be happy. The Green Lady bared her teeth in an unfriendly smile. Loot first, she said. It turned to change. I turned to Changeling and lifted Satchel off her shoulder, being careful not to touch her. There's nothing like a good blast of fury to kick the mind into the gear. I hadn't failed completely, after all. I had the mermaid's mirror and the ticket of Peter Pan. With luck, a little fast talking, I could probably salvage some kind of happy ending out of this mess. Maybe the Pooka could go back to the park, even if I couldn't. Fleet was right. I could live anywhere. All I needed was my friends. And I had made enough new ones to know I could make more. I opened Satchel, pulled out the mermaid's mirror, and flourished it. Behold the magical magnifying mirror of the Mermaid Queen. The Green Lady made an unladylike grab for it. Gimme! I pulled it out of reach. In return for the mirror, I stay in New York between, right? That's the deal, she agreed. Hand it over. I gave it to the lady. I gave the lady the mirror. She looped the golden chain around her neck and clasped her hand over the silvery disc in a gesture that made me think of the dragon. Next. I reached into the satchel, picked one of the tickets out of the envelope, and held it up. My hand shook a little. One orchestra ticket to Peter Pan, I said, in return for the freedom of the park. The lady, the lady said, give. I took a deep breath. I want to change the deal in exchange for the ticket. I want you to let the Pooka go back to the park. You think I broke another geese. You can't pull the old bait and switch on me, the lady screeched. The curator held his hand. Stop! Stop, both of you. Neef, you can't just go around negotiating your bargains like that. It just isn't done. When the curator says a thing isn't done, he means it. The lady held out her hand. Look. I laid the shimmering disc in it. She checked it over, then narrowed her eyes at me. With the original Tinkerbell? Yes, I said wearily. She tucked the ticket away in her neck of her leafy dress. Best for last. The scales of the dragon of the Wall Street. Everyone leaned forward. The dachshunds, the guards, the Pooka. the dolphins, and the cheerful boys. Even the curator was waiting for me to pull the one last rabbit out of my hat. I took a deep breath. I don't have them, I said, then went on very fast. I do not have another ticket for Peter Pan. You can't. Wait, I do have another ticket for Peter Pan. You can have it if you want, but you have to let Puka back into the park. The lady's smug little half-moon smile flopped into snarl. What? I didn't get the dragon's scales. I understand. That means you won't restore your protection. So I can't live in the park anymore. That's okay. It's a big city. I can find another place to live. It won't be as nice as a park, but I think I'll be able to. My march trickled to a stop. The lady was shaking her head gently. You don't get it, do you? She said. You promised me the dragon scales. You gotta get me the dragon scales or die trying. You want me to look like a fool? There was something about her soft, cold voice that made my mouth go all cottony, and my stomach try to fold itself and disappear. The curator cleared his throat. If I may just remind you, madam, you cannot take back the booze your hero has already won. The lady glared at him. It's just not done, he said firmly. They glared at each other. The air crackled, and the dock scent shifted uneasily. Someone tugged at my jacket. I turned around to see Changling frowning at me. Satchel, Changling said. I don't know how Satchel works. It doesn't get heavier when I put things in it, and sometimes they're next time I look, and sometimes they are not the next time I look. Beside mortal food, sometimes it produces handkerchief and glove, and it thinks I need them. I didn't have any control over it at all, but maybe Changeling did. I put Satchel in her hands. She lifted the flap and started rummaging inside. Hope sprang in my chest. It hurt. Changeling pulled out two familiar-looking iridescent plates. They were roughly fan-shaped and silvery gray, and the pale narrow stripes and a sheen like heavy silk. Dragon scales, Changeling announced, holding out it triumphantly. The lady stared at Changeling with her jaw around her collarbone and her hair lank with shock. There you are, lady, I said. The dragon scales, just as I promised. The lady recovered herself. No way, Jose, she said briskly. Those bits of shed horn aren't what I meant, and you know it. Madam, you try my patience, the curator said. Those bits of shed horn may not be what you meant, but they are exactly what you asked for. Thank you, curator, I thought. But the lady waved a dismissive hand. Next to that, they're not the same thing at all. In the first place, they're just a couple of pin-stripped cast-offs. In the second place, they're not good for anything. I won't be so sure of that, Curator said. You may remember that the teeth of the ordinary dragons are very powerful indeed. The scales of the dragons of Wall Street are bound to extraordinary virtue. Fugged about it. But what? The lady said. The deal's off. Changeling's mouth settled into a grim line. That's wrong, she said. For a second, no third time, all eyes on Changeling, but she didn't seem to notice. The lady promised to place Neef under her protection in exchange for the dragon scales. Neef has kept her promise. Oh, sorry. The lady promised to place Neve under her protection in exchange for the dragon scales. Neve has kept her promise. If the lady fails to keep hers, she will be in clear violation of her own rules, and that would be wrong. There was an air-shivering moment when I thought that the green lady was going totally snaky. Her eyes started to whirl on her dreads lifted, entwined, scattering roses everywhere. Then she put her hands over her reeling eyes and took a huge breath. When she lowered her hands, she shrunk noticeably, and her nails and teeth had lost their wild hunt pointness. "Uncle," she said, "I give up. You win. On a technicality, but you win. Give me the scales. I'll take Neef under my protection again, and the Pooka can come back to the park. The quest is accomplished." I took the scales from Changling and gave them to the lady. With too much to feel at once, I felt pretty much nothing. The Pooka bounded over me and whacked me on the back, mouth in a triumphant V. "I knew you'd do it," he crowed. I thought I'd die laughing when the Changeling pulled out those scales. The dragon scales indeed. She's a wonderful of the world. She's pretty cool, I agreed. And then I got a better look at him. "Oh, Puka, you look terrible." "I'll thank you to be keeping a civil tongue in your head," he said huffy. But he didn't deny it. He was as white as Kara marble, and his eyes glittered as if he had a fever. Even his flying eyebrows seemed to have landed. He looked like a trickster who had been in a museum for 3 days without playing a single prank on anyone. "A tiny bout of mischief, and I'll be right as rain again," he said. "But it was all worth it, eh? At least we can go home." "Right," I said, but somehow I wasn't as happy and excited about it as I should have been. "Can I go home now?" Changeling asked. "No," said the green lady. "The wild hunt is going to give me no end of grief over losing Neef here. I'll just cut out my losses and give them to the ringer instead." Now I felt something. Fury. "You can't do that," I cried. "You promised to send her home." "I did not. You just hope I did. Besides, I made her. I can do anything I like with her." I looked at the Pooka, who shrugged. I whirled around the old market woman, who lowered her eyes. I turned to the curator, who said, "She is within her rights, Neef. You think about it logically. It's perfectly reasonable. Promise." "No, it's not," I said, outraged. It's mean and cruel and totally unfair. Besides, I promised her I'd get her home if she helped me." Puka coughed unhappily. "You shouldn't be promising that you can't deliver." This wasn't happening. There had to be something else I could trade for Changeling's life. Some, something nobody had thought of yet. Something no supernatural would think of. The lady laughed. The mirror glinted at the end of the golden chain. "Before you give Changeling to the hunt," I said slowly, "I have 3 questions for you, for the green lady." She, so- she shook her threads. "You're a real pistol, kid. You know that? I don't know why I put up with you. After all this, you want to ask me questions?" "They're important questions. For you, not me." The lady shrugged. "Okay, shoot." I licked my lips. "What are you going to do with the magical, magnificent mirror of the Mermaid's Queen?" "Find out stuff, of course. Isn't that what it's for?" "What kind of stuff?" I don't know. Stuff? She frowned. Watch it, kid. You're getting on my nerves. One last question, lady. I took a deep breath. Do you know how the mirror works? She shrugged. I'm a genius, kid. I'll figure it out. I mean, how hard could it be? The mirrored queen has a brain of flounder. Nevertheless, the creator said with his driest voice, it might be as well find out. My heart was in my mouth as the green lady looked into the mirror. She tapped it gently, then shook it. It seemed pretty obvious to me that she didn't have a clue what she was doing. But what did I know? Maybe being the genius of Central Park was enough by itself to make the mirror work, even without knowing how. She turned the silver disc over and gave it an impatient thump, then looked up, her eyes glittering angrily. It's busted, she hissed. Hope sprang again, less painfully this time. That's funny, I said casually. Not very long ago, Changling was using it to tell her about the bull and the bear. Then why is it telling me things? Then why isn't it telling me things? Is there a magic word? A secret button? The green lady shook the mirror under my nose. You have to tell me. I may not be able to take back my boons, but believe me when I say I've got plenty of ways to make you suffer. Oh, I believe you, I said honestly. But still I can't help you. I don't have the first idea how the mirror works. There was a stunned silence in the fountain court, broken only by bubbling of the dolphins and the puka's low, admiring whistle. The green lady ground her teeth. You think you're pretty smart, don't you? I was beginning to enjoy myself. Yes, I do. But I didn't figure out how to use a mirror. Changeling did. Better start figuring out how to get the secret out of her then. No deal. If you want Changeling to teach you how to use a mirror, you have to promise to let her go home. Not just any old place outside, but back to where she was when Carlisle snatched her. That's not That's a lot to ask for a little mirror lesson, the lady said. It's not it's a lot of mirror. It's a lot of mirror, but only when you know how to use it. I'll think about it, the lady said scoffily. The curator looked like he was going to say something, but I didn't give him the chance. You won't think about it, I said. You'll do it. I bet there's a rule about accepting a treasure without giving a boon in exchange. Knowledge, in this case, is as great a treasure as the mirror itself. The green lady, the green lady's hair bristled once and lay still. You are right, mortal child, she said. Knowledge is precious. I accept your bargain. Drat. Does that mean that Changeling can go home? Yes. You promise? Okay, I promise. But she has to bring me up to speed on the mirror first. The next part was torture. The lady was too proud to talk directly to Changeling, and Changeling was too freaked out to talk directly to the lady. So the creator put them in separate rooms, and I went back and forth between them, translating. It took forever, but at least I learned how to use the mirror myself, which was a good thing, since the lady couldn't remember how to turn it from one time to the next, had sent me to start it whenever she wanted to consult it. But that was much later. That day the lady turned the mirror on by herself twice in a row, and went triumphantly to play with it. The old market woman bustled off to make arrangements about getting Changeling back home again, and Fleet reminded me that I'd promised to talk to the curator. She'd been making friends with the exhibits in European paintings and very excited about taking painting lessons from Rembrandt's self-portrait. I found the curator who was cataloging Japanese prints and gave him all the reason I could think of. The museum should have a mortal changeling of its own. He listened for a while, then threw up his hands and said he'd make Fleet a special resident member in the exchange for an extra ticket to Peter Pan. So Fleet got her happy ending, and the Green Lady got a date for the theater. Then it was time to say goodbye to Changeling. She disappeared after the lady's mirror lesson, looking like she needed a little quiet brick counting time. I found her in the Temple of Dendor, nibbling cheese and counting softly. Changeling, I said, the old market woman has sent for a kidnapper from the Baru of Changeling's affairs to take you home. It will be here soon. I came to say goodbye. She stopped counting, but she didn't look up. I want you to come with me. I can't, Changeling. I'm going home too. She nodded. Will you visit me? That's against the rules, I said miserably. She nodded. I do not like that rule. I don't either. Now that it was the same time to say goodbye for real. I was getting kind of teary. I had a feeling like there was more I wanted to say, but I wasn't sure that it was. I hesitated for a moment, then tugged my jade frog over my head and held it to her out. Take it, I said. It's a present, so don't forget New York between. She cupped the frog in her hands and, the first time, looked at me straight in the eye. I will not forget, she told me. I have an unusual acute memory. I know. Goodbye, Jenny Goldhirsch. I'm really glad I met you. I wanted to seal my gift with a hug, but I knew she'd hate that, so I settled for a wobbly smile, then turned to go. Wait, Changeling said. I turned back. I have a present for you too. She held out her hand. When I just looked at it blankly, she made an impatient noise and grabbed my wrist. She reached in her pocket, brought out a pen, and started writing on my palm. The sensation was weird, somehow between a tickle and a prickle. There, she said. This is my address. I know your memory is poor, so I wrote it down for you in case you ever think of a way of circumvent the rule about visiting. I looked at the blue numbers and words inked on my palm. Thank you, I said thickly. And then I went to the great hall where the puka was waiting for me. Then we went home. The shadows were long and golden over the Central Park Central. I trotted over the grass with Puka in a dog shape at my heels. Central Park Central looked smaller than I remembered, and the buildings of the city closer and taller to the east and the west. The setting sun glinted from the transparent wings of little flying folk and scattered golden squins over the surface of Turtle Pond. Home, said the puka. There's nothing like it. I'll be off now, if I can trust you to keeping your own hide safe for the day or so. I've a powerful thirst for mischief on me, and score for the wild hunt to settle. I'm fine, I said. Thank you, Puka. Pish tush, said the puka, and loped off towards the north woods. I took the long way up the Belverde Castle, avoiding the Shakespeare Garden and the turtle pond. Tomorrow I'd go and apologize to the water rat for ignoring his advice. But right now all I wanted to see was Astris. She'd lit a lamp in the kitchen. I could see a golden glow through the window, and as I came up back steps, the courtyard was still warm from the sun. It had only been a few days since the solstice dance, and only a couple of moons since I'd gone to fetch the blockhouse brownie on the spring cleaning day. But so much had happened since then. The adventure with Peg Powler and the blueberry felt like it had happened to another person. I pushed on the door and went into the kitchen. Astris was standing at the kitchen table, beating a bowl of cookie dough like she was mad at it. "I'm home," I said. The spoon skidded across the floor. Then Astris did something she never done before. She dropped down onto all four paws, scrambled across the floor, and jumped into my arms. It was kind of a shock to feel how light she was and how small under her thick white coat of fur. I hugged her and was about to kiss her twitching pink nose, then she wiggled free of my grip and leaped on the floor. "You needn't sneeze the life of me," she scowled, smoothing her ruffled sides, but her whiskers quivered like fairy wings, telling me how worried she had been and glad that I was home. Of course she wanted me to go to bed right away, and of course I wanted to talk. To my surprise, I won that argument. I sat down on my favorite stool to give her the outline of my adventures, while she finished up the silvery moon cookies and put them in the oven to bake. Even though I only hit the highlights, I was still talking when they came out. "That's quite a tale," she said when I had my mouth full of cookie. "The water rat is going to love it." "What am I saying? Everybody in the park is going to love it. Does it have a mortal?" "I guess," I said. "Don't bite off more than you can chew." Astris laughed. "Not all mortals begin with don't." "No, you could have fooled me," I yawned. "How about there's no place like home?" "True," said Astris, "but not the point. Try again." I thought for a minute. "Old stories are important, but sometimes you have to make up for new ones." "Very mortal," Astrid said. "Very neat. Say it just that way when you tell the story." So that is the ending of the book Changling. Holy crap. So, you don't have to listen to this. That was actually the ending. So, I don't know how audiobooks ended. Uh, Thanks to so and so. No, I'm just joking. Read by midnight. I'm not. Anyways, so I totally rented this book from the library when soon as I saw it. And I was like, this looks pretty like awesome, and it's like I didn't know what to expect it, but I like yeah, I know. I like the book cover, and then I like the back that says the summary, and I posted that on the playlist. And I was very intrigued. But soon as I had it for honestly a month, I had this book for a month. I rented it a month ago. I know. When it comes to libraries, I don't really have time to transport myself to the library. I don't have a car yet. I'm still working on it. But when I first rented this out, I was conflicted, and then I was like, how else am I going to read this? Because I brought this everywhere with me. Legit, I brought this everywhere with me, and I couldn't find myself to read this. So, pat on the back for myself, even though you guys hate me reading it, pat on the back, because, like, I know I'm very bad at reading and I'm not very good at storytelling. And the voices that I created were pretty hard because it's not like I'm being paid for this, because people from audiobooks, like, I think they have already read it and then they finally like record themselves, and plus they can fix it and then they have to restart over and over. No, I'm not doing that. So when I tell you, I rented this a month ago and I read it straight out, page to page. It just, I can't believe I finished this. It blows my mind. And plus, like I said, when I tried to read books, I used the audiobooks. And the audiobooks, which I prefer to give you Audible, please check them out. I love the app. We must give them love. Anyways, um for real, like, I use Audible to help me read because I like to multitask. But just me sitting here and then reading this book out loud, even when I'm screwing up and I just send in the videos, it's pretty epic. And I kind of recommend it if someone wants to read a book and they're not really sure if they should read it, like, how to read it. I just say, get your phone, record yourself reading. I don't care if it's bad or it's good or you don't know what to do with it. Like, I'm just setting it on YouTube. I already know not many people are going to listen to this, even if I have a ton of dislikes. But anyways, just enjoy the book. I mean, and then later on, go ahead and delete the videos. You I say save it personally to yourself, and then, you know, you can hear yourself read it even though it's bad. But if not, then read it out loud in a video, send it. If you don't like it, delete it. But you read the book and you accomplished something. So, what the hell? I mean, follow your dreams. But anyways, yeah, this book is called Changling. To hear the No, not to hear a better audiobook. That's the whole point I read it. But anyways, to actually read this, you can either get it from the library, which I'm pretty much sure that it's in every library because I'd be seeing this everywhere and it's my first time reading it. Or you can order it on Amazon. Now, please have a good day. And summer is coming, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your life. Bye bye.